what? If we own any of these issues that we're talking about tonight, and last week as we talked about the F word, face it, feel it, free it, and F it, facing it obviously would be the first one, and then feel it and free it. What are the steps that we can take to remove some of our blockages?
Right, and realize if you're going to embark on this journey, you're going to really change. It'll be a huge metamorphosis of your soul and your whole way of living, just like it has been for every soul that took this journey, from Jesus Christ to Buddha, Krishna, and all the saints and everyone else who's ever become free. Mataji, there's women too. A lot of women went free. There's a beautiful Indian saint mentioned in Yogananda's book. Ma Ananda Moy Ma. I know, you can look it up. Ananda Moy Ma. And she was an absolute free being, and gorgeous, by the way, not like some gnarly, often women leaders in our world, and we're telling truth, it's Truth Brigade. When you look at Golda Meir or Margaret Thatcher, these aren't exactly beauty queens. And what I'm not picking on the physical appearance, please don't misunderstand. What I'm explaining is the feminine in her beauty, in her softness, in her voluptuousness has not been given power. In other words, we could never imagine a Marilyn Monroe as having a political power. We have to put her in a box as being a blonde bimbo. You know what I mean? And so someone like a Ma Ananda Moy Ma in India, you can look up Paramahansa Yogananda, or email me and I'll show you who she is. There's some video of her still. She died in the 80s, by the way. And she was a true awake saint, but she was gorgeous. I mean, Madonna times 10, or, whoever you would pick, Beyonce, in the collective consciousness. And so there is awakening with that, too. But anyway, if you proceed on this awakening for your own soul, you're going to have to change, which means your programs and the way you were socialized and your soul's tendencies will shift. You will have a true rebirth, the second birth. Jesus learned the idea of being born again inside the great chamber of the Great Pyramid. That's an initiation chamber. You will become a new person. One way you can do this personally, I'll tell a little bit of my personal story. So after me, going through one of my awakening phases about 15 years ago, spontaneously arose out of my heart. I prayed, in a sense, to the mother aspect of God, and I said, if there's a piece of you out there that I could hook up with or have a relationship with, I'm ready. And I meant it. And I heard and felt inside me that aspect of the larger consciousness, call it God, Goddess, whatever you want to call it, reply to me with a twinkle in her voice. She said, really? And I said, yes, and I had said, it doesn't matter to me how it looks. Now think of all the preferences you have. I have to have an emotionally and financially stable man who looks like this. And the men are the same way. She has to have, big boobs and look this way and be really good, and that's, what I'm saying? So we have all these little rules about how it should look. I challenge you to have real love. If you're ready for real love, it may not come in the package that you thought it should. And that's how the universe works, because the universe is going to stretch you, it's going to grow you, you're going to grow bigger and learn that your love is bigger and not be maniacally addicted to false idolatry images around your love. So it will shift you. So I made that prayer, and I said, it doesn't matter how it looks, and I could feel a Mother God got really interested, and she perked up her ears and said, really? And at that point, little me, I started shaking in my boots, because I know when you put out a real prayer, something's going to happen. And within 2 weeks, I had a woman call me, which was a huge stretch for her. She'd never called a man in her life, through various strange, weird coincidences. And Joy and I have been together 15 years. And it was ridiculous. It made no sense on the surface. She was coming out of a very sort of strict Christian church, very almost rigid, place, and I was off the charts like I am tonight, and so for us to get together, with the first 30 days of that, and she still doesn't like me telling this at times, but whatever. There I go. You can yell at me later.
She's not listening, right?
No, she probably is. And everyone loves sex. So I actually would pray out loud. While I was with her, I'd say, God, I hope you know what you're doing. And she would look at me like I was nuts. Because from my mind's perspective, it looked so different. Where she was from. 30-year marriage she had just gotten out of, and this and that, very sort of, raising kids and all that, and I never had kids. So it looked like we were coming at things from a very opposite ends of the spectrum. So if you want real love, I suggest you let Mother God, and believe me, she loves doing it, and Father God, match make for you. It might be very different than what you're used to, but you will be guaranteed to have an interesting ride, let me tell you.
So how you mentioned the looks. How does it look? How does she look? How does he look? And all these pre-designed little boxes we make for ourselves. Perhaps we limit ourselves from finding true love because our expectation, we don't look in the other places other than what our dream lover or whatever who we found on TV or on a billboard or something is supposed to look like.
Right. And that's imagery idolatry, and as far as the Christian tradition is, thou shalt have no other gods before me. That's really imagery idolatry. I have a presentation called Image Presentation, where we are seduced by image. There's actually people in Hollywood who just say, image is everything. Nothing else matters. Image is everything.
Yeah?
Meaning
I was in Hollywood.
Yeah, meaning substance doesn't matter. It's all about the surface. Mm-hmm. And if you're approaching things all about the surface and no substance, then what you're going to get surface. You're going to be making love to plastic dolls. Have a good time. Enjoy yourself.
It sounds a little bit empty to me, but okay, so I guess that's one of the dangers. You could make love to plastic dolls, or you can do the bar scene or something every night and bring home another guy or gal, or I'm so in love. The fact is, people have sex without love.
Yes.
But should they be? And I'm not saying should they in a judgmental way. Right. I'm just asking. It can be kind of empty. And when you're having sex and sharing this part of yourself and the God self and your love, I don't know, doesn't it kind of fragment our souls, and then we totally lose any idea or concept of what love and sex are supposed to be in the first place?
Yes, and there's automatic wake-up mechanisms, and here I'm stepping out a little bit, but all the sexual diseases are basically like, hey, snap out of it, you probably shouldn't be doing this. There's automatic energy. Energy is naturally beautiful. The sun has no shortage of energy. Listening to the sun, hook into the sun. There's no shortage of energy with the sun. There's no shortage of energy inside us either. But when we start pouring it in wrong places, there's natural energy wake-up calls. Just like if you eat 2 solid cheesecakes in 10 minutes, you're going to feel pretty crappy, Mm-hmm. So if you go out and have sex in a way that you really don't want to, in other words, your soul, you really don't want to be doing that, but there's some addiction, compulsion, you're trying to, I'm not going to use that metaphor, but you're trying to... I was going to say you're trying to fill some hole. Let's just go ahead and do it. But you can't fill that. You can't fill that hole inside you because you're unholy, And so you have an automatic wake-up, meaning some sexual disease will show up for you.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a hint. You know, it's all perfect feedback. Your reality is giving us our reality and our personal realities and the world's reality is giving us perfect feedback. Thank you so much, God, for not buying into our BS, but actually giving us mirroring what we're doing wrong. In other words, right now we're obviously polluting the planet, or, you know, we're stressing the heck out of ourselves with, you know, and taking drugs and all that. So that's a mirroring for there's something off. You know, it doesn't feel good. When it doesn't feel good, there's something off.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same with eating. You know you could eat those 12 donuts, but afterwards you don't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have sex a certain way and afterwards you don't feel good, there's a hint. Hello, there's something I don't really want to be doing here, you know?
But that's implying that we are in touch with the soul or the spirit, because, you know, I'm not pointing any fingers, but there's the typical guy, or even, you know, people joking around on the chat that just, oh, well, men just need it and we can go anywhere, anytime, and it feels good. Any sex is good sex. And so
that's short-sighted.
It's basically a disconnect from the soul.
Yeah, that is if you do it out in the imagery world, or you're stuck at that level of it. In other words, your chakra is just stuck in that chakra, in the sex chakra. Then you will create wake-up calls as either irate girlfriends coming, or the ultimate one, the Lorena Bobbitt. You know, you'll have a girlfriend cut your penis off, or as happened here locally in Arizona a few years ago, a young poor young man sat in the largest Baptist church in Arizona and cut his penis off in the parking lot. You know, or the sexual diseases. You can do it on that level. But you're going to have wake-up calls in the form of divorce lawyers that will take all your money, or, you know, the universe will give you feedback. Don't worry about it. The universe is bigger than you. You can go out there and play for a while, but you can't get away with anything. You might as well align with your true soul purpose. But by the way, let me tell you something. A true soul orgasm is so much better than little genital orgasms, which is what that level is talking about.
Okay. I was just going to mention that chapter in your book, As You're Sex Free, you have a passage, cut your penis off at the local Baptist church. I mean, and then, you know, you talk about what you just mentioned, but also the types of, well, I'll just read a direct quote. Or, if we do it in an altered state, drunkenness, drugs, even fancy romantic environments implies that there's something wrong, unclean, not appropriate, dirty, etc. And then, you know, talking about how we have to dress ourselves up or have to put on a lot of makeup. I mean, why is this?
Right.
Why do we feel that it's so dirty and unclean and we're not supposed to be doing it?
Right. Because the innocence has left it, you know. And when I talk about innocence and true love, I'm not talking about namby-pamby, icky, sticky love. It can be very raucous, absolutely lustful, sexual, you know, full-on, you know, act out your fantasies, which, by the way, you want some personal advice on this. One step that's very, very powerful if you want to start getting real and really healed with this. Can you imagine God with you, or Spirit with you, or your angels with you while you're doing it? If you can't, which many of us can't, if you can't, then we've got some healing to do. One way to do the healing, and I did this in my personal life, just tell yourself, I'm allowed to have any and all sexual fantasies that I've ever sort of repressed inside me. And I don't mean you have to act them all out, but if they happen to act out, go for it, and if it feels safe and it feels right and all that. Because none of them are wrong. God knows about them anyway. Don't you think God knows all about your little sexual fantasies caught down there in your reptilian brainstem? Of course he does. Of course he does. He knows already. The only one pretending is you and us, you know, me. So one of the most powerful ways you can get free with this stuff, if you have a fantasy, write it out. Write it out. Imagine it. I mean, not only play it in your head, write it out like you're writing a book, you know, and really enjoy it. And here we're going to give some Dr. Ruth advice, which, by the way, was that a crazy situation? Here's a little munchkin woman. Here's a little munchkin woman that probably never had sex in her whole life. And I loved Sam Kinison when he used to talk about, I don't know what's between Dr. Ruth's legs, but it's not a normal vagina. is probably some old little cheese sandwich